start recording right now. Okay, this event will be recorded and shared to our YouTube, where you can check out our previous events as well. And with that, I'll be handing it over to Padma. Thank you so much for taking time to be with us today.
Thanks you, Katie, for the amazing introduction about the organization. Okay, and thanks everyone for joining this session. So I will be diving more into case study, like how we are working on the case study. And before that, I will be introducing about Iterate UX as well. So let me just go ahead and share my screen. Let me know once you are able to see. Are you able to see? Perfect.
Yep.
So now everyone is aware of that. So today's session is like case study building workshop, wherein I will give you a quick introduction about myself. I'm a UX architect in my real position with my company, and I'm a mentor and co-founder at Iterate UX. So I'm based in Seattle, Washington. I have been working in UX and UI design in this industry over 12 years. And I started my career with graphic design. So I moved from graphic to visual to UI, UX, and the UX architect that way. So that's the thing. I have worked with most of the IT companies. I have like HCL Technologies, consultancy, Tata Consultancy, and Cognizant. And including my roles and responsibilities was like leading teams, hiring people in design teams and those kind of stuff, reviewing portfolio with Iterate UX and other communities as well. And here is my LinkedIn profile. Okay, moving ahead. Okay, so today how we will work today in this event. So introduction about Iterate UX, which I will give you. Criteria about reviewing the portfolio will tell you on that. Some of the best practices I will mention you out here. Those are not the rules, but those are the best practices which we can refer. Some reference case study, and then we'll go ahead with mini portfolio review, and then we'll have a Q&A session at the end. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to drop the questions in the chat section so that we can take a look at the end. Perfect. Moving ahead about Iterate UX community. So Iterate UX community is a UXers from all the experience levels and background, wherein we can learn, connect, and grow with each other in support and in fun and supportive environment. So what are things we have in Iterate UX? So we have weekly Thursday events. So every Thursday we have weekly events at 5:30 PST. Then we have a portfolio and resume review section on our Discord. Feel free to use that. We have design feedback on our Discord. We arrange whiteboard sessions as well, which is very important for to get a job into UX industry. So we arrange those as well with practical sessions. Then we have design challenges, and we have a coffee chat and podcast on our Discord. So feel free to join our Discord. So here are some links which Katie will be sharing with everyone about like where they can connect on our Discord to know more about our events on Luma. And these are our all the social media platforms where we are. Moving ahead, let's get started. So I would like this session to be kind of interactive. So first would like to know what are the important aspect of UX case study. So would like if everyone can just write it down in the chat, like what as per their preference, like what are the important aspects in the case study. Would like to know that. Feel free to text it in the chat box. User persona, yes. Context of the problem, process and reflection, yes, definitely. A problem statement, yes. Insights, definitely insights. Is this evaluation and proposed solution, yes. Story is very important, yes. User journey map, yes. Any other areas?
The whole process.
Yep, definitely. Journey mapping, actionable web personas, yes, definitely. Okay, so I guess most of the people are aware of it, like how case study should be and what are the areas which we can include in the case study. So now we will look into that, like how we can present these things, where we can present these things, and how our story will be presentable for the hiring managers. So let me go ahead. Okay, so what is UX case study? So UX case studies are most probably and most of the times it example of design work which designers include their portfolio. That is one thing. Give recruiter a vital insight. So that is a very important thing when we are providing that to the recruiters or for the hiring managers. Designers tells compelling stories in the text and images to show how they handle the problem. So we would like to showcase the problem within a story. So that is a very important thing in the case study. And most important skill for UX professional is to ability to communicate. So when you have a good story, you will be able to communicate with your hiring managers. So that is a very important aspects of the case study. Moving ahead, okay. So these are the criteria. So what are these criteria I'm saying? So these are the criteria. Let's say I'm a hiring manager and how I will be reviewing your portfolio. When I will get your portfolio, what are areas I will see, look into in your portfolio. So first, if I will get any portfolio, I will check about that particular person. So what you do, what is your experience, what project you have worked on, can I easily contact you and know more about you. So I would like to understand before hand the interview, but I would like to understand who is this particular person, what they do and their experience. So these things should be very important to showcase rather than just telling. If anyone is viewing just portfolio, they should be able to understand. Now the project. So what is the project? So project should have a clear titles, clear story and skills. What are these skills? So the skills which you are good at, those things should replicate through your projects. So those things should match, your skills should match your project. So that is very important. So other person can understand, okay, this person has these many skills. So if I have those keywords in my job description, so I would go ahead and look into that particular profile, right? Okay, the structure. What is the structure? So for a hiring manager, if I'm a hiring manager, I should be able to find it what I want. If I would like to find about that person, it should be easily understandable for me. If I'm finding the project, it should be easily like finding for me that way. Then we have is it easy to understand? So easy to understand, that means the story which you are showcasing, that should be understandable for third person who is reading your case study. Okay, then can I act on it? So this is very important. Sometimes some people have some bugs in their portfolio. Okay, also sometimes they showcase some keywords at just the keywords, but those are the buttons. So those buttons, links and everything should be actable in your case study. So these are the criteria. As a hiring manager, I will look into your portfolio. Okay, now what are the best practices which we can refer while creating the portfolio, creating the case study and the portfolio? So consider portfolio as a UX project. Okay, and how you work on your UX project? First, you understand your users. So for whom you are making these case studies? You are making these case studies for recruiters and hiring managers to get the job. Okay, so this is a very important thing when you are creating a case study. Think from users perspective, like a recruiter's perspective, what they would like to see, so that you will provide what they would like to see and what you have done, those things. So consider these area. Moving ahead, be specific. Like recruiters need quick understand what your experience is, what you have done, and your skills. So sometimes what happens is like recruiters or hiring managers, they get thousands of resume. Within that, they get thousands of portfolios, and they need to check each and every portfolio. At the first glance, if they will be able to understand, okay, who is that person, what is their experience, what are their skills, if that matches, then they will go ahead and dig more into your case study and read your case study. but at the first glance they should be able to understand all these areas. So be specific on that. Moving ahead, outline the flow. How the outline will be. Focus on your primary goal for the flow. How the information story move from one screen to the next. So that connections you need to showcase while creating the story within your case study. Best way to clearly present the information. These three things are very important. Remove redundant content, make it simple and understandable, and scannable and readable. Scannable, I will show you how the UX case study can be more scannable for hiring managers. Okay, moving ahead. Content is very important aspects in the case study. Why? Just because we have too much, sometimes we have too much of content, but the content which you are providing in the case study, right, it should be easily understandable for the third person, wherein they are just reading your case study, right? So the in the content there are three main areas, which is first is title, second is copy, and words. So title should be concise and scannable. Aim for 3 to 5 words only, and large heading. When you will use the large heading, you will consider the visual hierarchy also in your UX project or maybe in your case study. So that is very important thing when you are showcasing visual hierarchy, so that your users will scan your portfolio based on that. Then copy. Be clear and concise. Also, there is one more important thing. Since we have sometimes we have so much of content out there in the case study, right? So if the copy content steps or list, show bullet points and numeric points. So this will help to scan the content, so that they don't need to read each and every content. They need to scan the content. Okay. Then words. Be consistent in within one case study, consistent with all the words which we are using for one particular case study, and within your portfolio as well. Use same terms for same concept every time and avoid grammatical mistakes. So that is very important. Now, consistency. Consistency is very important. It is very important also, but it is optional also between portfolio and resume. Why? Sometimes like people are looking more into UI design also, and nowadays people create like colored version of the resume. So if you can keep the consistency between your portfolio and resume, that will look good, that will give you an additional point for your portfolio, but that is optional, and personal branding is also absolutely optional. Moving ahead, what the structure can be for the case study. So provide your roles, responsibility, timeline, and team, which will give you an idea for hiring managers to see like what are the responsibility you were having in this particular project. What was your role? What timeline you have worked on, and how many team members you were having. So this is very important as a UX person. There are some soft skills which we usually require as a UX person, like a collaboration and communication, those kind of stuff. So if you have a team, that will give you a plus point over there to check like this person has worked in within a team that way. So that is a very important thing. Then overview. So what is the overview? So overview will be your product overview or your company goals overview. So you can describe about your company or maybe the project overview in that particular area. Then problem statement. So what problem statement which you are working on, why you are working on that problem statement, and why that company required to work on that particular problem statement, and what they will gain based on this. So that thing should be like mentioned in the problem statement. Then moving ahead, users and audience. Who are your users? So would like to understand the project which you are working on. Who are your actual users? One second. Okay. So what happens in the users? Okay. So sometimes we have users, like some users are primary users, some users are secondary users. But in some areas, we have external users and internal users. So these are very important things, like which user group you are talking about for this particular case study and the project. So that's why it is very important to understand who are the actual users for this particular project, wherein you will be showcasing the solution based on the user's need and their challenges. Then scope and constraint, you can definitely, wherever you have feel any constraint or maybe any challenges while working in that project, you can present that as well, which will give you an additional point wherein you consider those challenges also to showcase in your case study, so that it will showcase a story. Like it is not like you are following a design thinking process but you did not find any challenges. So if you have find any challenges, some constraint, sometimes you have some constraint about time zone, you need to connect with your users with different time zones. That's why we switch from moderated to unmoderated or something that way. So there will be some reasons. So it is always good to showcase the constraint and challenges as well. Then you can present a process. So sometimes we usually use design thinking process, sometimes we use human centered design process. So it is very important to see like what process which we are following and what you did in that. Then outcome and lesson, so these are very important things where you can showcase like what are the outcomes and what are our lessons from this particular project, and what will be the next thing which you can consider if you get more time or something that way. So this is a structure which you can consider. Also, I'm again saying these are just a best practices, these are not the rules, but if you can consider, you will be able to showcase your story with each and every artifacts. Okay, moving ahead, there are some case studies are there. I can give you this link maybe later on after this event, maybe anyone can access this and just check. Okay, so moving ahead, let's start with our portfolio review out here. So first, I would like to understand from the user like their name, goal, expectations, and challenges. Why I'm asking this question, just because I will be reviewing that portfolio based on that person challenges, what he is facing the challenge, and what are his goals. So I would like to understand that first. So I would like to ask the Jonathan to unmute yourself and share these informations with me.
Yeah. My name is Jonathan Guzman. My goals. What do you mean by goals? Like in general or for this project?
Yeah, general, like why you are creating this particular portfolio and the project.
Oh, I want to be a product designer. That's my goal.
Mhm.
Get an internship anywhere. Expectations.
Mhm.
Could you elaborate on that one too more? My bad.
Okay. What are your expectations in your portfolio? Like, since I will be reviewing your portfolio, what are your expectations? What do you think? Like, what are areas I should look into that? Something on based on that. Mhm.
Okay. I guess, well, I'm more of a UI designer, but I mean, obviously I want like to make sure my research is also good.
Mhm.
But yeah, I guess I just kind of expect you to go a little more hard on me. This is my first
Mhm.
I guess case study I've ever written, so I
Okay.
don't expect it to be
Mhm.
good.
Mhm.
Some challenges. This is my first case study.
Mhm.
And I guess I've been like digging through a lot of resources, but you just never really know
Mhm.
what are the right resources.
Mhm.
Years of experience, like less than one, I would say. Yeah.
Mhm.
But I mean, I've been researching like product design, UX, all that for like over a year now, but I haven't had like real experience up until the
Mhm.
end of last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know. So I can consider your profile as a product designer. I can consider your experience as a fresher. So definitely when I will review your portfolio, I will consider that you are a junior person, and the work which you have done and the job profile which we can consider for your job role, something that way we can check.
Mm.
Okay, perfect. Okay, moving ahead, let's jump on your portfolio. Okay, great. I have some areas out here. Okay, so when I first land on your portfolio. Okay. Now, I really like the way you have presented all the area. I see some interaction out here. Looks really good when I look into a junior portfolio designer portfolio, but when I see some interaction, it looks really good. Okay, this is an additional point. Now, when I land on your portfolio, I see like who you are, your name, a designer and writer who likes to focus on storytelling. So when I read this, I understand like you are a designer and you are a writer. So these are the plus point which I can see like, okay, so if I have a like vacancy in my company for a designer who can help in the writing also, since like UX writing is also that important. So I can see, okay, so this person has a good idea about writing as well. So this is a good point I can say. Okay. Now moving ahead. Now out here I see your name. Okay, I see about me, I see contact. Perfect. Okay, so now in first glance, if I would like to contact or maybe I would like to see your resume, where is that area where I can see your resume?
Yeah, I have it embedded in the about me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. But I can suggest you one thing out here, since you will be looking for a job. If you can present your resume link upfront, that will be helpful for hiring managers to download that or maybe check what is your experience, your education, your skills, what tools you have worked on, and other details also. So that is very important. Now moving ahead, I will scroll out here. I see you have created 2 case studies over here. Okay, that is good. Then you have added the name and some description about the your portfolio, about the that particular project. That is good. Then I see home, about, and contact. I see Twitter and LinkedIn. Okay, so now out here I would like to ask you one more question. So this is a UX project, right? Would you like, are you and if you are that active on Twitter, if you are active on LinkedIn, then you can present all these links out here. That will help recruiters to see what are activities you do as a UX designer. Okay, since you have that and you will be active on that, so these are the additional good points which I can say over here. Okay, so that is good. Now I see over here home, about me, and contact. Okay, I have one thing out here. So if let's say I go to about me. Okay, I go down and I would like to see your work. Where should I go?
Oh, yeah, I'd be back at home.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, but
yeah.
yeah.
So do
So
you suggest like retitling home to
yes,
work? Okay.
yes, that way you can do. Since you have provided your work on your homepage, that is absolutely fine. But if you can rename that as a work, that will be a good chance if user can go to contact, and if they would like to see your work, definitely they will go for work. But as a UX person, we should understand users' mind. Like recruiters would like to see your work. So if you will rename this as a work, that will be a good chance wherein user can easily act on it that way. Okay, now moving ahead out this particular thing. So first I would like to suggest you few things about here. So when you have the case study, you can just press some button kind of a thing wherein user will get a user will understand easily, click here or maybe view the case study or something that way. I know you have given this on this particular click, but if you can give the button, which will be a good call to action for user to dig more into this particular case study. Also, I can suggest you one more thing out here. If you have done user research, if you have followed the design thinking process, if you have done the UI designs in this, maybe you can mention some of the keywords out here. Okay, so why I'm saying if you need to mention the keywords, if I have a requirement wherein person has worked on the UI as well. So if I see any keywords out here wherein you have worked on the UI, I can dig more into that particular project. So that will help me to get, okay, this person has worked on this particular project on UI, I will go for that. Okay, this person has worked on the user research, I will go ahead with that. That that way. So that is important to get our users understanding like how they will act on your portfolio. Okay, I really like the way you have presented these images. So it gives the glance like, okay, this project he has worked on. Good job. Okay, so now I would like to ask you one more question out here. Since you have only 2 projects, maybe in future you will be adding more projects in this. One thing which is your like a great case study, or where you have worked on amazing job, where you would like people to see that first. Which is
Which
the
one?
one? Which is the
Rendezvous.
one?
Rendezvous, the left one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, the first one, right? Perfect. So you're good out here. So you just need to check the priority, which is the best work which you would like to showcase first. You can just keep that at the first. So that will help others to understand, to see that particular case study. So now I'll move ahead. Okay, so before that, okay, I'll move ahead with your case study. Okay, so this is the first. I will go ahead with that. Okay, out here I see the name of your project. Good. I see the images of your project. Very nice. I would like to see some description about over here, like about this particular application, the one which you have mentioned it on the homepage. Something like this. Like what is the application in just 2 lines, or maybe in a 1 line, something that way. So after the name, that will be helpful for user to understand once they will dig more into this. So one thing we should always keep in our mind, like whenever hiring managers look into your portfolio, in first 2 to 3 minutes, they will just scan your portfolio like this. They will not read any portfolio, and they will not read any case study. Okay, but if they will find this very interesting, then they will dig more into your case study and read the areas. So it is very important to showcase whatever you would like to showcase in at first glance. That should be easily scannable. Okay, now moving ahead. So your roles are okay, so let me just open my slide out here. Okay, so rules. You are founding product designer. Okay, teammates. Can you just check the spelling of teammates? Is it a single word or is it a double word? Something that way. You can just check once from your side. And then deliverables. So I have few suggestions out here on this area. Okay, so role founding product designers. I would like to understand like what areas you have performed in this particular project. I know like this was like this might be a conceptual project where you have created some product or something that way, but I would like to understand like what work you have done, like a user research or maybe UX design, or product is also good part, or if you have done the UI design, I would like to see that also. So maybe that you can add in your role. Or if you don't want to add that in your role, maybe you can add one section as a artifacts, like what are the artifacts which you have provided in this particular case study. That will help hiring managers to understand what are areas which you have worked on. Next, teammates, 5 engineers and 1 makers. So just want to check one thing over here, 5 engineers. So you were part of engineering team, or you were a product designer and then you were having engineers?
No, I worked with them. I was the designer.
Okay, so maybe you can mention that way also over here, like 1 product designer, 5 engineers and 1 maker. That marketing. Okay, now out here moving ahead for the deliverables. Mobile. What we can say as mobile? What is the mobile? So you can mention that mobile application. That was your deliverables, right? So you can mention that as a mobile application. Okay, now, okay, this thing is done. Okay, now moving ahead with introduction. So if you can say over here, this is the introduction and this is the problem. So out here, I hope this is the introduction about the particular project, right? Okay, so as I can see, you can mention this as an overview. Okay, so this is the overview. Like why we say overview? So overview is about your particular project. Okay, so you can mention that as an overview. Also, in this overview, I would like to see project goals. What was your project goals? I don't see any project goals out here, or else you must have like mentioned somewhere, but I am not able to scan that text. So if you have some area where you have mentioned the project goal, you can just bold that particular text or maybe highlight that particular text which will help us to scan your content, the case study content. Okay, so wherever you are showcasing any content, you can highlight those keywords, you can highlight those sentences wherein I need to just read that sentence, I don't need to read entire paragraph, that way. Okay, now moving ahead, again you have the images, that is good, fine. Then problem, so this can be your problem statement. Okay, you can just mention as a problem statement. So in UX terminology, we don't say just problem. Okay, so we say like a problem statement or a challenge, like what challenge you will be working on. So that you just need to rename. So in problem statement, you are saying some universities don't have a platform for student organization to engage with, manage and promote events and members. Okay, so out here when I read this particular sentence, I see that you are talking about student organization wherein they arrange some sessions and promote their events and those kind of stuff. Am I right out here?
Yeah.
Perfect. So now it is usually burden board members to create, maintain and maintain a database if they keep track and begin with. So out here when I read this, I understand that you are talking more about the organization point of view. Okay, so now when you say like organizing events, so there might be, at this point I see like there might be two different users. One will be organization and one will be the students who will be joining their events. And the first will be the organization who will be creating those events, tracking those data, tracking all the events. Okay, all these areas they will be doing that. Okay, so I get this understanding from this particular content. So let's dig more into your portfolio in the case study, like what else areas you have provided. Now objective. Okay, our aim for this project is to develop a mobile application that helps organizations engage and track and manage members and events. So this is good. The one problem statement which you have mentioned, so this is aligned with your problem statement. What is your objective? We are good with this. So now objective, develop a mobile experience that helps organization engage. Okay, sometimes I feel this is kind of a redundant content which you have out here, and this maybe you can remove one of them. Okay, so like your case study will not be that lengthy, but you will use a good content in your case study rather than having a redundant content. Okay, perfect. Now moving ahead, you have the challenges, which is like begin the only designer. Okay, so you were the only designer when I read this. Perfect. So only designer on board and not having any real experience, it was a challenge to get feedback on design related decisions. Okay, I also had to step out of the real, what is this?
Realm.
Okay, okay, well, okay. Real realm of product designer and lead branding, such as co-creating a logo and creating brand guide from scratch, but without challenges, there is no growth. Okay, perfect. So I see this challenge is your challenge, but I don't see this challenge is your product challenge. Okay, so this is your challenge as a designer. So you are the only designer who is working in this particular project, and wherein you don't have any person to review the project, to create some style guideline or any teammates wherein you will get the UX stuff. But this is your challenge. I would suggest wherein you can present a challenge which is actual user's challenge, wherein you are working on this particular case study, right? So that you will connect all these dots with this. So this was the objective and this was the challenge, that way. So you always need to connect those dots. Now, moving ahead, initial user research insight. Okay, great. Now you are showing your design process. So out here, if you want, just a suggestion out here, you can present like which process you have followed. Okay, so let's say, for example, you have followed design thinking process. So in that design thinking process, what are areas we cover? Like let's say we cover discovery, we cover design phase, we cover ideate, test, and these area, right? So in discovery phase, like what are the areas you worked on? Like you have done the user research. If the application is already existing, then you have done the usability also in your discovery phase. Then you must have done survey, you must have done competitive analysis, something that way. So these are your discovery phase. So if you can just mention that in one slide, all these areas we covered in this discovery phase. Then moving ahead in define phase, what are areas we define based on our research? So sometimes we define user personas, so you can mention that. Sometimes we worked on the user journey map, so that is very important when we have an interview. Based on the interview, we create our user journey, right? So what are the user journey, those scenarios where in which stages user are facing what kind of a problem, and where you have those opportunity for this particular product to launch, right? So those opportunities, so that is a good artifacts where you can create based on your user interviews and your usability test, and all, based on your discovery. Yeah, that way. Then you may have your user flow, or maybe in detail, if you want to provide, you can process showcase your task flow also based on the scenario which you will be considering. So those will be your defined phase. Then moving ahead, you will have ideate. So since you were the only designer, you can mention that you created the wireframes based on the findings which you have on the user research and the journey map. Then you created the wireframes. You, before landing to the high fidelity designs, you created the design system, or you created the style guidelines for this particular brand based on the users. Okay, so now you have the persona, you know your users. Who are they? What are their age group? Are they considering into accessibility or not? Okay, so based on that, you will create your brand guidelines also considering your users. So those area you have that opportunity to showcase in your project. And then you can provide the high fidelity wireframe. After that, in test, if you have done any usability test based on your like prototypes, you can mention that. If we have done the usability test after your low fidelity wireframes, you can mention that as well. That is a good opportunity where you can showcase the iterative process as well. So that is the process which, as a hiring manager, I would like to see what problem statement which you have, what problem you have worked on, what design process which you have followed, what research methods which you have worked on. Since you are looking more into product design, these are very important things which should showcase from your portfolio. Okay, so now let's dig. Do you have any questions before we go ahead with other areas?
No, yeah, I've been writing everything down, so I'm good.
Perfect, perfect, good. So in now,
Padma, sorry to interrupt. There's kind of a lot of static coming through on your mic. Do you mind maybe just like trying to unplug and replug it in? And
okay,
yeah,
let me
thank you.
just check quickly. Yep, sure. Is it okay now?
Yeah, much better. Thank you.
Perfect. Yep. Thank you. Okay. Now let's go ahead with your discovery phase out here. When you are saying initial user research highlights, I see over here you are saying to ensure our concept was necessary, we conducted remote product discovery survey with 28 board members from various student organizations from USC, as asked student leaders to identify issues when gathering organization data. 70% of participants said tools are too expensive. 57 need multiple tools to get analytics, and including Typeform, Webflow, Web Builders. Okay, perfect. So your initial thing is matching with your research which you are working on. Okay, these are very good when you are considering about the organization point of view, and what are the areas they would like to see, like participant, they would like to see their like pricing as well, what they would like to see analytics as well. These are very important things which you have covered. Very well done. I have few suggestions out here. You have very good numbers out here. Like you have done 28 user interviews with your members. So I would like to suggest you out here, you can just mention as a like main title as a user interviews. So that is one of your research method which you have considered, right? So mention that as a user interview. Also in that you can mention how many users interviews you have taken. I would like to see those numbers. Numbers are very important in UX case study to scan also and to understand also like what all things you have worked on. You can mention that like 71% participant said this, 57 participants said this. So these should be highlighted somewhere. So that way it will be easily understandable. Now over here I would like to check like how many interviews you have taken. What are your consideration, the one which you have mentioned? That is good. Now you are saying 51% of students leaders don't know how to use their data and all those things. So these are your insights from your user interview. That is good, but you need to present it in a way wherein you can showcase like these many interviews we have taken, these many users we have taken, these are our primary users as per our product description. These are our primary users and these are the insights based on our user interviews. Okay. Now moving ahead, what issues did our students leader identify as their biggest difficulty? Okay, so you have this graph also. Very good. I would like to see this graph where I can see, okay, these many percentage, these many tools are expensive, people are facing and those kind of stuff. This is very important to showcase graphs, which is very easy to understand. Data visualizations. Nice, good work. Now moving ahead, I see events tool okay, anything from survey tools. Okay, so just wanted to check with you, like, is this a survey you have done or is this the user interview which you have done?
It's a survey.
It's a survey. Okay, so
Mhm.
you need to mention that like we arranged the survey and these many participants was there and these are the things. So I thought it is the interview, but
Yeah.
anyways.
Oh, just to kind of go on that,
Mhm,
I added, it says we conducted a remote product discovery survey with
mhm,
28 plus board members. I don't
mhm,
know if that like solves that or.
mhm. Okay, but maybe if you can mention that like a survey which you conducted in a highlight way, then it will be easy to understand. This was the survey insights which you have gathered. Good. Then what tools do our students leaders use to track the analytics? So these are the one I feel, as per my understanding, these are their competitors. Am I right out here?
Yeah.
Perfect. So out here, what you need to mention like a competitive analysis and then mention this data, give some introduction and then showcase those data. Like what are the comparison which you have done, in which areas you have done the comparison and those things that way. So that will help to scan the portfolio with the story. Okay. Now moving ahead, I see percent of response. Okay, this is one. If you can, if you can in one screen, if you can just use this graph in one screen rather than having a scroll, that will be easy to see like what entire thing which we have. Like in one view, if you can put the image, that will be helpful to understand the image. Okay. Now, so this is again a UX practice. Give a less scroll, give the necessary information in one view, in the first view, so that user will understand that without scrolling. So that is the thing which we need to understand as a UX practice, like while making a portfolio also. Now, what features are missing after they try those tools? So these are the, I see these are all your competitive analysis. Maybe you can.
Oh, I can't hear you. Sorry.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Perfect. So I see these are your competitive analysis. Am I right? Or like what are these things which you have presented?
This is features that
Mhm.
the my the main users would want,
Mhm.
the primary users would want.
Yeah. Who wants, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So these are your findings, like what they are required or what are your opportunities for this particular project. So you can just mention that in that ways. Now moving ahead, these are the personas. Okay, perfect. Now I can see the personas wherein I see this is the person, he's worked on this, he knows how and all those things and all. Okay, now out here again, you have used the same content in your persona, which is kind of a redundant. Maybe you can just remove that just to avoid the scroll as well and not to add too much of information so that you your user will not feel overwhelmed with the content, right? Okay, this is good. In your persona, you are saying this is a college student. Okay. Okay, president of this particular club. Okay, so now we are talking about this particular person who is arranging the events and those kind of stuff, right? Their skills great and gathering information, strong analysis, amazing of solving existing problem. Perfect. Then top objectives and challenge. So based on when he's an organization, these organizer, these are his challenges. Good to go. My rules, his rules. Perfect. He's a president at this particular university. These are his question. What makes me trick and all these things. Okay. Now you need to understand one thing. What are areas you are capturing out here, right? This should reflect somewhere wherever you are providing a solution. Okay. So your solution should match your persona also. Okay, so these are the important things when you are connecting the dots. These are the research, these are the insights which we capture, and these are the solutions. So you are connecting all the dots. On this particular problem, we have provided this particular solution. Why? Because of these areas. So that connection should be always there. Now, moving ahead, you have affinity mapping. I would like to suggest you one thing. If you can just add a user journey, that will be helpful since you have good amount of data and you must be aware of their activity, like what they do for arranging those events, for managing their members, their students and those kind of stuff. So that will give you a good opportunity to showcase like how good understanding you have on UX artifacts and what are areas you can work on that way. Now moving ahead. Okay, you have affinity mapping. So now over here, I would like to ask you one thing, like why you have worked on the affinity mapping? What are the areas which you consider while working on the affinity mapping?
The affinity mapping was more just for to, I guess, come up with key features, or just, I guess, at the start, just throw out features that we think users would want based on the research we had, and then kind of highlighting the ones that are more feasible in the amount of time we're working with. Yeah.
Okay, so are the all the solutions, or these are the problem statements which you have captured?
These are the solutions.
Okay,
Like,
perfect.
yeah.
So now I have one more suggestion out here. When you are showcasing all the solutions in the affinity mapping, how usually we work on the affinity mapping? We have all the problem statement based on all kinds of research which we have done. Okay, then we prioritize those problem statement. After prioritizing those problem statement, we create how might we. Okay, and then based on that, how might we provide n number of solutions, and after providing these many solutions, again we prioritize those based on our release. Like we will consider these many solutions for this particular release, we will consider these many release for next release, something that way. So that is the actual process we usually follow in our affinity mapping. Then if you can showcase that through this particular slide, that will be amazing. And I see you have the data, but you need to just rearrange those data based upon like how we actually work in affinity mapping. Okay, do you have any questions till now?
No.
Perfect. Moving ahead, this is the user flow which you have mentioned. Based on the findings from the product discovery survey, through it was necessary to add interest to help users discover organization based on their interest. I see proposed an organizer walkthrough to teach students leaders on how to create events. Okay, to teach student leaders to how to create events, showcase their club personality and discover analytics. Okay, I see this content, and this content is kind of a different. Over here you are saying, I thought it was necessary to add interest to help users discover organization based on their interest. So I feel this particular text, when you're talking from other users point of view. When students will see that application, they would like to see which organizations are there, what are my interests. Based on that, I will find the organization, something that way, or maybe I will find the events. But out here, when you see this particular statement which says your first user, which you have mentioned above in this particular case study, wherein they would like to see the analytics, the personality, and the create event. So am I right on this understanding? Just would like to check with you.
Yeah.
Mhm. So I can suggest you one thing. When you have
Mhm,
captured the information from one user point of view, right? Keep
mhm.
the same user for all the your case study, all the story. So that
Okay.
whenever you will go for the interview, right, you will be able to present and communicate, okay, these are the findings, these were our research. And then based on these users, we have these many solutions. But don't involve any other user when you don't have that persona in your case study,
Okay.
right? Yeah, so that way you can just mention one thing where you are considering what kind of a user. Now moving ahead, you have this particular, maybe okay, you have shown this as a user flow. Login, home, splash screen, get started, sign up, email, all these things. Okay, add organization, add profile image, okay, so this like that they are adding their organization profile. Good. Now sign up organization, email, phone verification, organization interest, add profile image, bio, walkthrough, all that. So what are these area? I did not understand this.
Yeah, if you scroll a little down, there's a legend. Yeah, so there'd be like different flows for to register as just a regular user and then to register as an organization.
Okay, okay. So I can suggest you one thing. Since you consider all the research, all the artifacts like a personas and other areas as a organization, maybe you can keep just one flow wherein you can like present or communicate your case study accordingly. That way, I can suggest you that rather than mixing both the scenario, which will conflict somewhere, wherein people will ask you like, okay, then what is this? I would like to see these users data as well. How you come up with these areas wherein I don't see those users in your research, right? So somewhere these will be a conflict where people may ask you. Better maybe you can just restructure that beforehand. Okay, now moving ahead. Okay, simple system and then design. So now you are directly jumping on the design. I would like to suggest you few things over here. After the user flow, maybe you can come up with some wireframes or maybe some sketches like what solutions which you have presented, and then jump on the design system and the final designs which you would like to showcase. So that will give you a proper story, like how you are presenting a story for this particular project. Okay, now moving ahead, typography you have. Nice, really good work. Mhm. I really like the way you have presented this. Like, since you have worked on this, is a good opportunity. If you are looking for a UI designer, they will definitely look for your portfolio. If there is an opportunity for UI UX person, they can definitely look into your portfolio since you have a good hands-on experience on UI stuff as well. So yeah, so these are the good things. You have buttons, all these stats are there, text fields, icons, really good. You have created these areas also, and you are directly jumping on the design. Okay, just before jumping on the design, I would like to say, showcase like why you have provided and where you have provided those solution. I don't see now over here where user can see their analytics. As an organization, user can see their analytics, which was their pain points, right? So those pain points you need to provide over here, like these solutions we have provided. I see these designs are the other users. So if you see over here, this is the student profile. This is not the profile which you have already mentioned in your case study, right? Are you getting like what, where is the difference between two different users?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the designs which you have created for the other users, wherein those are the external users. Like a student will go ahead, select any organization, select their interest, and then go ahead and check all the events, right? So there you need to make sure like the user group which you are considering, designs also should consider the same flow. I really like your designs. Your UI design skills are really good. The presentations are really good, but you need to consider your first users and create those designs based on that way. So there is a kind of a conflict which we have. Research is different user group and designs are different user group. Okay, never mind. But your designs are really good. I really like the way you have created the designs, the navigations, the all these area, the UI components and all. I can say you have good UI skills from your portfolio, which is an additional point wherein you can get a chance to get an interview for any different levels as well. Okay, then you have branding. That's great. So you have created the branding also. That's good. So if you are showcasing the branding, I can suggest you few things like you must have done research on branding, right? You must have done different iterations for the branding. So you can present that also. That is a good way to showcase like how you come up with this particular branding, right? So those are very important things. Like showcase some of the sketches which you have done, showcase some of the, like maybe if you have done any iconography or something that way based on your product goal, based on your users. These are very important when we create a branding, right? Branding is for our users, branding is for from our product, like what we would like to present to our users. So these areas, so showcase those steps also in that. It will give you an additional point for your case study as well. So yeah, then you have brand guidelines. Nice. You have a link also for brand guidelines. Perfect. And these are the learning experience. Nice. And these are the next steps. Okay, I'm not reading all these things, but you must have covered major areas. Okay. Okay, do you have any questions?
Do you think it would be useful if I added a persona for like the student's perspective?
Okay.
Like I would probably have to do research on that.
Yeah, now you're getting that. Yes, now
Yeah.
you are at the right point. Now you understand like why we provide personas,
Mhm.
just because we have that research. So for
Yeah.
that you have done the research, then persona, and then the flow. Yep,
Okay.
you are at the right place. You got the point which which we are discussing. Yep.
Mhm.
Great. Any other question?
No.
Perfect. So we are good with the portfolio review. So yep, I would like to see your next portfolio as well. Yep.
Thank you.
Nice, and all the very best for your next project. Okay. So yes, I can stop sharing. I can just go to the Q&A. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask questions.
That was awesome to see. Thank you
Mhm.
for giving such a good in-depth
Mhm.
review of that. because I think a lot of us here, all of our case studies are pretty beginner, because that's why we're here, is to learn. So that was awesome to see. And good job, Jonathan. That was awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he has done
thank you.
really good job. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for
Yep.
sharing and being brave to have everyone look at your portfolio.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the first case study I've ever made, so I wanted to get critique because obviously I don't know like all there is to know about case studies, so I need to put myself out there.
Definitely. But I really like the way you have done the research and then the define phase. Then you just need to check the other flow as well. Maybe you're good to go then.
Yeah, I'll probably change the like the login flow thing for the analytics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Great.
So we have a question in chat. They said, is Webflow a good website to create your first portfolio?
I guess. Oh, yeah, you can answer that, I guess.
So it depends. Like if you have expertise in Webflow, you can consider that. There are many sites where you can create your portfolio. You can create the portfolio on Notion also. It is not mandatory to create the portfolio on any website. You can create a portfolio with a PDF with any other website on Behance or Notion on any Webflow and all. It depends upon like what expertise you have. If you're good with Webflow, or maybe you can just go ahead with that.
Yeah,
And
I was
also,
gonna.
go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I use Webflow because I'm more comfortable with that. Yeah.
Yep. And there are also many sites wherein you just need to pick some templates and put your information. So that will also help you. So there are many things like Squarespace, you have Webflow, you have some free templates, you will get it. So you guys can go ahead with that. Any
Great.
other question?
We have another question in chat that says, do you have any resources for case study best practices or examples?
Yep, I can share those resources. I can share more resources maybe later on. Maybe Katie and Eric can share with everyone.
Yeah, great.
Sure.
And those case study links that you sent or that you had on your slide, are you able to share those?
I will share those links with you as well. Yep.
Awesome, great.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there is one case study which is very interesting and which is not for the freshers or maybe for juniors, but you can just look into that, like how he has explained this case study, which is very famous around the world for Uber, like how he has mentioned, like how is this case study, like nice titles, nice description, clear, neat images. Wherever they required images, they have provided the images. If you see over here, he is just presenting like what was the thing and what was the introduction about it. It is very nice to see like how people like demonstrate their case study, like what research and things they have done. So I will share this case study with everyone.
Great.
I have a question. I think this is a common experience with a lot of people I've talked to who are just starting their portfolio, and we can kind of get like a writer's block or just get stressed out trying to get started. Do you have a process that you recommend just to like get the wheels turning, like get started on your portfolio, and then a process to like iterate on that?
Yeah, so this is the structure which you can consider. Just make a note somewhere in maybe Word document or maybe Notion, wherever you want. Maybe mention your roles, responsibility, timelines, and team. Then create an overview, like what was the overview, and iterate on that. Then mention a problem statement. Iterate on that. It may iterate also later on once you will get the actual statement. Then mention about users and audience, and then you can check like what design process which you have follow, and just check upon like what areas you consider in process. Like this is the process which you can say, like in research what you mentioned, in define phase what all things you consider, then in ideate where you went. So this is a story which you can consider. I hope that question that answer was like you were expecting the same thing.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think having a structure to start with helps a lot.
Yes, definitely. So since like what happens usually, we create a project, we worked on a project and we have too much of information, but we don't know how and where, what information we take that way. So keep all the information in one document in this structure, and then just remove if you feel any redundant content, just highlight some of the major content, and then you will get understanding, okay, this is a good wherein I can present, I can communicate with hiring managers, and I can just tell the story on these particular areas, something that way. And also one more thing, like when you are providing a case study, sometimes we capture many scenarios. If you would like, you can capture only one scenario for one case study. That will be helpful to explain like why we have used this scenario, how we find those scenario, and these are the solution for this particular scenario, something that way. So it will be helpful. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
We have one more in chat. It says, do you have any advice on how we can make our portfolio stand out? Since hiring recruiters do look at so many different portfolios.
Yep, definitely. Okay. So one thing, very important thing, your portfolio should be scannable and readable and understandable. These are very important things. So what happens with hiring managers or recruiter, they get hundreds of resume, they get hundreds of portfolio to look into in a day. Okay, so think about like how they will look into all the portfolios, right? So try to capture like what roles, what skills you have. You can showcase those skills upfront in first view, okay, in your home page. After going to your first case study, your skill should portray. So if you want to showcase some keywords, highlight those keywords. Users will not read, or users as in recruiters will not read all your content, but they will read the highlight areas. Definitely, if you have any goals, highlight those goals. That will help to scan the content. Or if in 5 minutes I see, okay, this is kind of a good portfolio, then I will dig more into and check in detail your portfolio. So your skills should highlights in like first 2 minutes, or in first 5 minutes your skills should highlight. It should highlight what you have done and who you are, that way. So that is very important to know, like to present these things in first 5 minutes. Maybe you can take a usability test with your user, with any other people, like just go through my portfolio and check like what you can see from this particular portfolio, how you understand. Before asking, before presenting, how do you understand the portfolio? You can just do that with your peers, with your friends also. Yeah.
Okay, we have one more question. How many case studies do you recommend we showcase in our resume or portfolio for getting a job or an internship? Oh, I can't hear you too well.
Sorry. Yep. Am I
No.
right? Is it okay? Okay.
Yeah.
So I can suggest 3 to 4, at least 5 is good enough, but 3 to 4, if you will present, that will be a good area where they have a scope to see, okay, this person has done research and all these things in this project. Now I would like to see what other problems he has worked on. So he may go for the another project, or maybe the third project, but 3 to 4 is good enough number.
Okay, and then I have a question. I am studying graphic design and I consider myself a graphic designer with very little knowledge of UX and UI, but I'm like, working on projects, hoping to grow that part of my skill set. Do you think that it would be helpful for me to have a separate portfolio only with case studies, primarily focusing on UX and UI projects so that it doesn't get confusing in like the job application process?
Definitely. So in this case, like I would like to ask you one thing: what is your goal and where you are looking for your job, like next job? If you are looking for graphic design, then you are good to go and provide your graphic design portfolio. That is perfect. But if you are looking for UX role, maybe product role, or maybe UI UX role, since you have a graphic background as well, based on that, you need to create your portfolio and then you can share it that way.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
Great. Well, I think we are pretty much out of time.
Yeah. Mhm.
Thank you so much, Padma. That was awesome. Very informative.
Mhm.
Hopefully after this, I will write up some notes and go back because we recorded it, and I can just send out a summary to everybody. Yeah, so make sure if you know anybody who missed the event but is curious
Yeah.
what happened, we will post the recording on our YouTube.
Mhm.
And again, Katie just sent all of the links to connect with us, the UX UI Association, and then of course, Iterate UX. I'm super happy that we get to work with you all
Yeah.
at Iterate UX.
Mhm.
So make sure to check out their Discord and their upcoming events, and stay connected on social media.
Yeah, and there's a place in the Iterate UX Discord to submit if you want your portfolio reviewed as well, right?
Yep.
I
Yep.
had my portfolio reviewed by them as well. It was great. So definitely recommend check out their
Ah.
Discord and
Mhm.
submit.
Definitely. Yep. Okay, you're most welcome and always happy to help you for your organization whenever you need. Let us know.
Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Yep. Thank you. Have a good rest of the day.
Yeah, have a good weekend.
Have a good
Happy
weekend.
Friday.
Yeah. Happy Friday. Yes.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay.
Take care.